So I'm going to do a more in-depth showing you my work, if you will, of what's happening here in my view of Matthew 24, 36 through 41. So we'll start with verse 37. I'll make that a little bigger for you. For the coming of the Son of Man will be just like the days of Noah. Now, at this point, we've already gone through everything. We've already hit the climax, and and everything is based on these three questions. When will these things happen? What will be the sign of your coming, parousia, and of the end of the age? And I put them in colors: green, kind of an orange, and then a blue. So first, Jesus starts off and he says, oh, this is going to happen in tribulation and wars, and then you're going to see the abomination of desolation. So that's the sign. That's the sign of your coming. This is what he's comparing the fig tree to. Look out for it. When you see it happening, the abomination, know that I'm near. These are the days of the Son of Man, as it's known. And then we have immediately after the tribulation of those days. So it's connected. Then you have the Son of Man coming on a cloud. He's going to send out his angels. But then we have this climax followed by a stepping back. We have the fig tree. When you see these things, you know that he, the Son of Man, is near right at the door. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. A lot of people say, well, in 36, the day of the hour no one knows, not even the angels. What day? The day that Son of Man's coming. Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense because it's connected, like I said earlier. So he can't be talking about that. The only thing he can be talking about that's immediate, that hasn't been addressed directly, and on chapter 13 of Matthew, it does say, I'm going to send out the angels. The end of the age, the harvest is the end of the age. I'm going to send out my angels. And he says, first I'm going to send out them to collect up all the wicked, throw them in the fire. This is one part of it. And then pick up all the righteous and put them in my barn. But they don't really have that part in there, do they? The only part they talk about here is he's going to send forth his angels and he's going to collect his elect. But what Jesus is doing here, according to Matthew, the aspect that Jesus is touching on is that, to give them another analogy of the fig tree, now he's going to give them another one. And I think it's safe to say, by the way they're terming this, is everyone knew, at least there, the story of Noah. And they probably knew it very well. So since they know this very well, since they know when a fig tree's leaves are coming about, the branches are becoming tender, they know summers. These are things that they know. So he's giving them an idea. Just like Noah, everything was fine. I'm going to use present day, Jesus' time, when he's giving this talk. Everything's fine then too. Until the day that Noah entered the ark. Until the abomination of desolation. And they did not know, gnosko. You could see these words, you could see all this red and all that. These are things that they just add. And that's what they are, annotating. And they did not know until the flood came and took them all away. So, and did not know, just like they don't know. Jesus doesn't know. That's what he just said here. I don't know. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. All these things take place, but of that day and hour no one knows. So heaven and earth is connected. with the Son of Man. And I think everyone agrees with that. Maybe not. But I know most people do. But the Father alone. So the Father knew and knows time as well, if you look at chapter 7. Until the flood came and raised them all. Now, what here he's saying is that they didn't know either. But when the Roman army comes, as it turns out, the abomination of desolation, then they will know. And what do they do when they see it? They run out of the city. They leave. And raised them all. Again, this is just the nominative of Eren. The same exact word they use, minus the ep, which means on top of, in Genesis 7. Exact same word. And I think that's intentional. To show them that this has nothing to do with the people who are going to drown in the flood. And they don't even talk about them very much in Genesis either, because they're just not the emphasis here. The emphasis here is on them. Jesus is speaking to them. He's educating them. He's warning them. He said, look, this is what's going to happen. I'm telling you everything I know. He's not emphasizing their deaths of the people that will die by the Romans. Just like Noah, there'll be a separation. They didn't know either until the flood came and raised them all. And going back to this Eren, in Genesis 7, I think it's verse 17, the only thing that is talked about as being raised was the ark. And this is singular, plural. Raised, Eren. Just one thing. Just like it was one thing back then, the ark. They're being raised. They're being beside gotten. That's what paralambano means. And we'll look at that word in a minute. The biggest thing that tripped me up was they did not, they use these words understand, which is not the same word. I'll even show you. What is it? It's like Luke 8:10, something like that. And they did not understand. Tsunami. If you could see that. So that's tsunami. That's what understand means. To perceive, understand. Right? Now if we go, let's look for Matthew 24 in here. Nope. Last time they mentioned understand was in Matthew 17:13. But here's the word. Right? That's it. It's the same understand. But they don't even list it as the same word. You see how they screw with you with these interpretive Bibles? I mean, it's just look at all the red. I mean, it's insane. The amount of stuff that they just jam in here. And this is one of the worst ones. And it is that way, I contend, because they have to change it. This right here is what they contend, all millennialists say, that all this happened, but this hasn't happened yet. This is the dividing point between the two. And this is all going to be future. But if this is future, guess what? Everything that follows it has to be future as well. It wouldn't make a lot of sense, would it? If that was future, but then they kept talking about how this was past. Because he goes right into it. It's connected. Because these people are saying, whoever these people are, most people are, 36, that day, hour, no one knows. He's talking about the coming of the Son of Man. Because he's talking about it here. And he's talking about it here. This is the climax. This is the story. This is the sequence of events. This is it, right? This is the climax, the culmination of everything, with sending out his angels. And it's glorious, right? But then he comes back to it and he starts to describe it more. So this, with that view, has to be this. But in order to do that, you have to change all this. And it's so incredibly obvious. Once you start to dig into it, and the more you dig, the worse it gets. And I know in English, it's hard to look at this, especially when you've been conditioned for so long to understand it, to be this way. But it's not. And it's immediate. It's right here. The parousia of the Son of Man was just like the days of Noah. They were eating, drinking, giving in marriage, just like they were then. Till Noah entered the ark. That's it. That's the last day. That's a cutoff. The abomination of desolation in their time is the cutoff. And they did not know because God didn't tell them. Right here. I don't know when it's going to happen, but God knows. Right there. And here he's talking about the parousia. Okay? The parousia. This, the Son of Man coming, that is the parousia. The actual arrival. Like the president showing up in your community. There he is. He's arrived. That's the parousia. It's a very loose description, but that's what it is. They didn't know. The people talking to Jesus don't know. It's right there. Boom. But of that day and hour, no one knows. Heaven and earth will pass away, because he says this in 13, but he doesn't say it directly. But here he's saying it directly. Because when is the end of the age? The eon. The end of the age. It's all connected. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. Look in chapter 13, you'll see how this is all connected with each other. The harvest is the end of the age, and he'll send out his reapers. And the reapers are the angels. He even explains it to them. Here it is. Now this is a general view of the world, I guess, the cosmos, the planet Earth, the inhabited, the oikumene of Christ followers. Because they're mixed in with everyone else. Whereas Noah, they got on the ark and they took off. They were separated. One was raised, one was left, right here. But here it's not raised. Here it's paralambano, and one is left, or released, or cast off. Aphiemi has a lot of different meanings. It could be good and it could be bad. It's so many different ranges of meanings. But paralambano is pretty straightforward. It's beside gotten. So this Noah entering the ark is just the cutoff point. Okay? Because they're not going to be on an ark. Their feet in this knowledge are going to be their ark. Don't even grab your coat. Just run. They did not know till the flood came and raised them all. And this is a generalization. Noah was raised, the ark, as is described, his family, the animals, because this is singular too, as well. It's not the accusative, it's I think it's the nominative, I think that's how it is, or it's back vice versa. But nevertheless, it's the same exact word. One singular thing. Motion. Raised all. And it's saying the same thing here. It's raised them all. And these people, and you, who I'm talking to, who Jesus is talking to, will be raised. There'll be two in the field. And this is the other problem with this theory, that this is still future. Because if you look at Luke, and you look at the way this is being talked about, the people have already left the city, so it can't be one of them. The elect cannot still be inside Jerusalem, unless they screwed up. But there will be 2 men in one field. So this is a generalization of believers amongst non-believers, or elect amongst the unelect. One will be received, right? One will be left. That's all. I don't even think the left has any negative connotations. Right here, they're going to be left. That's all. Could be good, could be bad. Doesn't sound good. But all it's saying is between 2 people, one will be taken, one will be left. Now, when we look at paralambano, here it says it's used 50 times. Here's a really good example of paralambano. Kind of like I forget what it's called, like a double accusative or whatever. For this reason, we also constantly thank God that you received paralambano. Okay. The word of God which you heard from us, you accepted it, not as the word of men, but for what it really is, the word of God. I'll stop there. So you have people interacting with other people. You heard from us and you accepted. Right there. Let's highlight it. Paralambano means beside God. Paralambano. Lambano by itself can just mean take. Okay, you just take it. Pick up your keys. I'm going to take it. Paralambano means your spouse came up to you and said, here, take the keys, and you take the keys. It's cooperative. This word can be used in a negative way. The devil takes Jesus and John, and he's walking around, and he says, or not John, here in Matthew it talks about him walking around and saying, oh, look at all these beautiful, look at the cities. Where was it? I think it's 4. Then the devil took him up to the holy city, stood him on a pinnacle, right? And you can see this, took. You can see where I've highlighted it. Very high mountain, and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory. Paralambano. Paralambano. Right? But Jesus went cooperatively. He went with them. He didn't say no, because that would be a different word. But going back to where we were before, you can clearly see one is involved with another, and they accepted it. Suolambano is when Jesus gets arrested, because they arrest him. He doesn't really have a choice. He's going to go with them. That's suolambano. Okay? Elizabeth suolambanoed when she is impregnated with John. Mary is suolambano when she's impregnated with Jesus. It's just going to happen. Beside going to happen, basically. they don't have a choice. When Jesus is arrested, he went cooperatively. He knew it was going to happen, but it didn't matter if he did or not. He went anyway. Now, when Jesus took his cross, he went willfully. That's in John 2. And this is an aspect that people kind of miss with this word. And I would like to emphasize that. That's why I was looking for this particular verse, because they paralambano Jesus, therefore, and he went out bearing his own cross to the place called the place of the skull. Jesus went willfully to his cross. He didn't try to escape. He didn't fall down and say, oh, I can't do it. Or I'm not going to do it. I'm going to pretend. Some people, like in my lifetime, Saddam Hussein was hanged, and it wasn't really a willful thing. I mean, they forced him up there. That would be suolambano. But here, paralambano, he went willfully. They didn't have to force him. And it's a very beautiful part that is sometimes missed. And I want you to understand that the way these people are describing this scenario is Jesus went willfully. And I know most people already know that, but this is just another part that I think a lot of people aren't aware of. And it's the same thing here. It's no different. And people are taking away and distorting this word and its meaning. Paralambano. Now let's ask ourselves a question. Let's say you're one of these people. And it's a scenario that they say is still future. Let's say that's still future, all right? One group is going to be taken and one is going to be left, okay? But guess what? You are one of those people that's going to be taken in judgment, even though it doesn't say judgment at all. Let's do that real quick. Because it doesn't even say judgment in this. I think the last one they say is like chapter 18. Chapter 19. I'm actually looking for a different word, but I don't want to have to chase it right now. Find for yourself. Look for the word. This is judge. They don't really use the term judgment, but they do. But just find the last time that they use anything describing judgment. Okay, like here, because that's what they say this is. Oh, this is judgment. But where does it say that? Where is Jesus saying that to the four that are listening? This is judgment. It's not judgment. What they've done is again, all the nonsense going on here, they've created some sort of offshoot. They said, oh, this is judgment. And then they base it off of that. They bring it out of context. And they slice and dice and tell you all kinds of stuff. Then they inject it back into this part. This whole part, really. From what I understand. Everyone's different. They take it out, they spin it up, they spit it back in. and the brainwashing is complete. But what's happening here is these people are being B-side gotten. If you were one of these taken in this scenario that most people believe, do you think, based on this word and how it's used, you would go willfully? Think about that for a second. This is kind of another offshoot too. I don't mind saying that. But let's stop and think about what's happening here and the words that they're using and their meaning. We have Lot, we have Noah. Now, obviously, they didn't have any control over it. But let's say the scenario that Noah was a preacher, and Noah did preach to these people, like the what's it called? The tradition says happened. There's no proof of it, but let's just say that Noah did. Maybe he did. I don't know. It just doesn't talk about it. And obviously he didn't bring anyone else with him towards the end. Noah, family, and those other people that, repented. You're saved now too. That didn't happen. There could be different reasons why, but they didn't know. But let's say they did know. And then the flood came. They said, oh yeah, now I get it. This is judgment. We've been bad. We deserve this. I deserve this. Go ahead and take me. I'm not even going to fight it. The flood water is rising, and I'm just going to sit here in my chair and smoke my pipe, and I'll just let the flood waters just take me. I won't even try to get on my roof and escape the water. Do you think that's how people took this? Because that's what the word is describing. If you're on an airplane and all of a sudden it goes black and you hear this big boom and all this air starts coming in, you hear it start spinning out in a circle. You don't even know which way is up. And everyone's screaming and yelling. And the masts pop down. And the emergency lights come on and you're right in the middle of the Atlantic in December. And everything's starting to crack and break up. All right, the first thing you're going to sit there and say is, oh, this must be judgment. And I deserve it. Go ahead and take me. Because I just cheated on my wife or husband, or I steal money, or I bet this is all the bad things that I've been doing. And guess what? Everyone else on this airplane is bad too. Right? We're all bad. And this is judgment. And we just need to accept it. Go ahead and take us. We're willing participants in this exchange. I don't think so. That's not the way they depict it on TV anyway. That doesn't mean much. But on TV, it's, oh my God, save me. What's the first thing that they do? They reach out to God. See how instinctive that is? This is a side lesson. You know when bad things happen? Oh my God, save me. See how instinctive that is? But people don't pray. Some people don't even realize that prayer is everything. Until something like that happens. But going back to what we were talking about before, you're one of these people. Give any scenario you want. I don't care. But you know it's going to happen. You know you've been a bad, bad person. And judgment is going to come and get you. They're going to leave the person right next to you and they're going to take you. Okay, go ahead. Take me. I deserve it. I'm a jerk. I'm a sinner. I deserve this. I don't think so. I don't think so. To prop up people's theology, I'm sure they would say yes, but I doubt that would really be the case. And the problem is, again, with this saying, oh, this is the separation. No one knows that day and hour, referring to the coming of the Son of Man and heaven and earth falling, passing away. That's not going to happen when Jesus comes back and raptures everyone, or I don't know. I really don't know what the rapture theory is. I know it's down here. They say that the taken are the raptured people. And they are right about the paralambano. And you see how people's minds and opinions can change once it benefits them. But if it doesn't benefit them, then it's something else completely. But when it does benefit them, they can be nice, open, and honest about it. But the problem with both theories is that, again, these are first century people. So how can you go back, say this part is still future, this is destruction, and this is future? Because this is not future. This is right here, 40 and 41. This is referring to first century people. In Luke, they're described as people that run out of the city, don't even grab your coat. And he uses the same scenario to the point where even translators and copyists are taking verse 40 and putting it into Luke. They're adding it to it around the 4th, 5th century. To try to make it appear and try to make that connection. Well, they're wrong for doing that because 35, it's a bit different. It's not exactly the same, but the people they're referring to is. It is a sequence in the timeline of events that unfold in this chapter. Bam. They ask questions. Bam, bam, bam. Going back, reiterating, giving them analogies. Bam, bam. This is a result of this, 31. This happens. The Son of Man happens. This happens with it. And this happens as a result. After it. That's how it works. And you can't get around it. The biggest problem is that this is in English. I mean, this is from the Codex Sinaiticus, but this is just an idea. Forget this. This is some research I was doing, but see how it's put together here? See how close it is? Kata. This means down. I don't know what this is. Kata. Down. Amp. I don't know what it says. But you see what I'm saying? It's much different. There's no periods. There's no, and then this, and then this. And Jesus says this before, but of that day and hour. Well, he does something but immediately after the tribulation. Okay? I mean, it's kind of like in John with this I am. John says I am like a billion times through all kinds of different characters and all kinds of different scenarios and all kinds of different times. It's just like a linguistic style. Like that 13-year-old that says like, as if. They say like 500 billion times a day, right? This is a literary style of Matthew. It's not a separation. In the reality of the world that we live in, you cannot separate these events and just take them out and just put them somewhere else in time. It's just not possible. And it's the fatal flaw of amillennialism. It cannot happen the way this is in Matthew. You can't do it in Mark. And you can't do it in Luke. You definitely can't do it in Luke. Luke is even more hardcore than this and concrete. But these are first century people. This generation will not pass away. And I know people can go on and on and on about that. If you really want to make it say what you want it to say or what someone told you, then go right ahead. But you're not doing yourselves any favors by doing so. Are you here to listen? Or are you here to learn? Sorry, I said that wrong. Are you here to do what you want to do? Or are you here to listen and learn? Because that's what this is. And this is just how it's written. I mean, look at it. I don't know when it's going to happen. They didn't know either until the flood came and raised them all. One will be beside gotten. By who? The angels. So the angels aren't coming from below, are they? Are they coming out of the sea? No, they're coming with the clouds. They're coming down. Jesus isn't spoken of, or the Son of Man, sorry, spoken of coming all the way down. But the angels are. They'll come down. They'll gather their elect. They'll take them with them. They'll gather them together. Raised. They'll be raised. Just like Noah was raised. Or better yet, the ark. And it's all immediate right here. And it lines up with chapter 13 as well. Why they didn't put the people being tied up and burned, obviously, it's not there. This mourn is more like English, like when your kid gets ran over by a car and they die, and you'll tear your shirt. Oh, the anguish. That's what this is. What's that word again? Capto. That's not the actual word that they use, but it's the family is what capto, but it's a different word that they use. Same meaning, but you're ripping your clothes. Jews even now, if like, when someone dies, the rabbi will come and cut a little bit of their t-shirt or something like that. First, they'll change into a t-shirt that they don't want. Then the rabbi will come by and cut a little bit of it, and then instruct you to tear apart your shirt, and then to show everyone that you're anguished. One of the members of the Sanhedrin does it when Jesus makes that confession. He tore his shirt. Remember that part? That's what that is. But he tore it in anger. It's all interconnected. So look at it yourself. The events that happen here are exactly in line with what's happening in Genesis 6, 7, and 8. And it's a good thing we bring up chapter 8, because if you look at the end, where is it? I'll just go. If you look at Genesis chapter 8, there's a bit of a problem. I will never again curse the ground on account of man, for the intent of man's heart is evil from his youth. And I will never again destroy every living thing as I have done. Now that poses a bit of a problem for people that take the view that when Jesus comes back, he's going to destroy the entire planet. I'm not really sure because there's so many different views, but this heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. Pass away doesn't mean it's going to be burned up or planet Earth is going to explode like some sort of bomb. Because God said he's not going to kill everyone. That's what a lot of these scenarios are built into this passage, that the whole world is going to explode somehow or be burned up. The whole surface of the earth is going to catch fire and it's going to be renewed, and then everyone's going to come back down. We're all going to live on earth. It's contradictory to what's being said. Nowhere in Revelation does it talk about a total planetary destruction. It's just not in there. I think 1/3 of the world was burned up and all the seats turned red. That's about as far as you get. So look closely when you're reading this. I mean, look what it says right before. It's just all connected. And they've changed it again because this part happened. If you look at it from an academic point, this part is historical, and this part is, Jesus was a fake prophet. It never happened. That's your average liberal atheist professor at your local feminist liberal arts college. That's their view. Jesus was a fraud, religion is fake, and gay is good. Right? But we know as disciples that it continues on. So even though we don't know, and I myself, I can make up excuses. They will see this is a do. That's not necessarily visual seeing. You can look at Revelation 21, I think 18. I saw that there was no temple in there. Okay? He didn't actually see that there was no temple. He just perceived. He's like, he noticed. So it doesn't have to be a literal visual see. And there's other words for that as well that donate just that. What's that word? That shows just that. That they are seeing it. The wrath is coming from the army. Jesus isn't doing anything. God isn't doing anything. He's just letting it happen. And the people who are elect will be taken away from that situation or scenario or altogether. And everyone else will just be left. Whatever happens, happens. Because not everyone in Jerusalem was destroyed. We know that from history. Up to this point right here. But this part, they say, hasn't happened. We know as disciples that whatever they say, even though we don't know, it doesn't matter if we know or not. This is true. But you have to understand what it's actually saying. I know a lot of people don't. I go to websites and the YouTube sites that actually teach Greek, and you get like 2 views of the video. Like my views, I get more views on my videos than they do. And these are the same exact people. You don't know it because they got a little different name on there though. These are the exact same people that have a ministry somewhere else or doing something else. They got 500,000 subscribers. 5,000, 10,000 comments. Praise Jesus. Oh, amen, brother. Preach it. That's what people want to hear. People don't want to hear this. But you've missed it. Something's being said to you and you're not asking. And I also want to take the time to say, and I think this is very important, just because you're wrong, and you are wrong, and I'm wrong, I think everyone's wrong. Even if we were right, we wouldn't know for sure anyway. But just because you're wrong Just because you're in the wrong religion or whatever, or you're a Mormon, it doesn't mean you have lost your salvation. Not at all. Not at all. You could be a Mormon and still be a disciple of Christ. But if you're a Mormon instead of a disciple of Christ, then you got a problem. You need to be a disciple of Christ and listen to what's being said. And I'm just demonstrating a possibility here. This is a theory, because I can't prove it. But this theory is based on what it's actually saying before it was changed. We have people like Bart Ehrman who go around and say, oh, the Bible's been changed. It's got so many errors, blah, 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 blah. Yet he, all by himself, perpetuates scenarios like this. I've already been on his blog for quite a while arguing about this. And I haven't said much because he takes his view, and I couldn't really come up with anything good to say anyway until I saw that, but now I could care less. Because it's not, he's not going to change his mind. But he perpetuates this scenario where he's still future. Like him and Steve Gregg, the exact same person in theological views, minus the Trinitarianism with Ehrman. The exact same view. To the letter. I mean, if they weren't the same person, I wouldn't be surprised. Because he perpetuates and he overlooks all this stuff. Just like he overlooks Luke 17:21 with the entos. That entos nonsense that he pushes. And people don't know. And the vast majority of people that look at it as entos, that's just because they're reading the King James Bible. That's all. They don't even view it that way. Their preachers will turn that around too. So I hope this helps. Because this reading, this theory that I'm giving you, is as close as you're ever going to hear to the original meaning. I've never heard it anywhere else. It's funny, I see all these things and I say, something's wrong with this verse. It just doesn't make, even in English, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense when you read it the way you read it. And it's very hard to overcome what you've been told. I didn't even grow up in a church, and I didn't read the Bible until I retired. But this is what they told me. Oh, they didn't understand. That's the people that were being destroyed. Not talking about them at all. It's included amongst Noah and his family. That's it. It barely mentions them, just like it barely mentions them in Genesis. Then there's a separation between the two. Noah entered the ark. One went this way and was raised, and the other ones were just left behind. And it's going to take a long time to see it this way. But if you look at the Greek, I provided you the Greek in that paper in the previous video. You can look at these words like I just did. Look at the exact word that they use. Then you can take that word and put it in like a katabiblon, right? You can put the word in there. But here's parlambono right here. At 27, take close beside receiving. Here they are right here. This is the present indicative third singular. He, she, it being close, being take close beside received. And just look at it. Look how this word's being used. Start with Matthew. Start with the book that you're in or the epistle you're in. But you got to find out what the exact word is. Here, here, Arin. Here's a Rio, a Rio, but it's Arin. Copy. Search. Right there. Matt 24:39, John 5:9, John Revelation, and look at it. John 5:9. Take up your mat. Pick up your mat. Raise up your mat. Lift up your mat. See, in English we can do that. So you can twist it around to kind of fit your view. Raise up your mat, but here it's took up. How about John raising Lazarus? Jesus lifted up his eyes. Eos Erin. Now these are just variations of the word. This is the first aorist active indicative third singular of aprio. Aprio. I'm not good at pronunciation, sorry. Ario. A-I-R-O. That P is an R and that W is an O. John 19:30. This is when Pontius Pilate asked that he might take Jesus' body. He's going to raise it. He's going to lift it up. Raised it again. And took his body away. Raised it up. Pick up your mat. Pick up Jesus. Pick up the ark. Pick up the people. One is received, one is left. Picked up, lifted. Revelation. Lifted up his right hand. You see how these words are being used? Paralambano, all this kind of stuff. Lifted a stone like a great millstone. Do any of these hit you as being like the ESV, that translation, and the NRSV? Swept away. They're swept away. That doesn't even make any sense. Swept away. What's sweeping them away? The paro. The floodwaters. The floodwaters aren't humans, are they? Let's talk about that. That's something else that needs to be addressed. They're saying that the flood came and destroyed them all, or judgment, or they put it in so many different ways. It's ridiculous. But these are people. Paralambano. People. Read it. Not some sort of force, or the wind, or the water. And during Noah's time, there's no tsunami. They didn't come and just crash into them. That would have busted up the ark. Would have torn it to shreds. What is described as happening in the time of Noah? The waters came, rain, the faucets burst open, right? And everything started to flood. And it raised the ark on top of the water. It bore it up higher and higher and higher, like filling up a bathtub. You give your kid a bath, put one of those ships in there with them and turn the water on. And it's just like that. It just raised and raised and raised. And over time, apparently it took 40 days. It doesn't say how long it took for every human thing that breathed to die. But it didn't happen all at once. In Luke, it's quite clear they were destroyed. That was the result of it, and that is accurate. But that is not Matthew. That is not what Matthew is saying. Matthew isn't even talking about the same scenario as Luke is. Again, it's different. It's not the same. So I hopefully this one will satisfy you people in explaining what I'm trying to say here. I'm not a professor, obviously. Not very good at explaining things. But that should be more than enough to at least get you on track to see what's going on. It's all right here. And again, people don't lose their salvation because they were lied to. But when they're confronted by something, for example, like what I'm saying, and they just say, well, that's ridiculous, and turn away from it, well, then that's a problem, I would assume. I know that could be a big problem, but that's just the way this thing is. If you don't do it right, it's just not going to work. For those people who study, it won't line up with everything else. And it will throw it into to chaos. A lot of the stuff they told you is just like this. It's twisted and it's manipulated to get you to see their view. I'm trying to get you to see my view, but I don't have to manipulate anything. Just look at the words and look how the words are used everywhere else. I don't need to take it out of context. We took that part of judgment. Remember that part of judgment where the airplane and they're going to be judged and they just let it happen? If I put you in that scenario, took that out. That's just an example. But as you can see clearly, everything is connected. It's all right here. Look at the words. Look how Matthew uses those other words. Look how those words are used even in other books and epistles. Look at it. It's all there. And you can make all the excuses you want, but all this is talking about something that happened in the first century. You cannot take it out of context and move it 2,000 years in the future. It's just not possible. That's not who they're talking about. That's not what he's referring to. This generation. It's pretty clear. But you could make excuses. You can make all the excuses you want. Have fun. But this is what it is. He's likening it to the scenario that he just spoke about. Then you have the virgins. This is being prepared. We have the talents. Then we have the judgment. It doesn't actually say when this happens. I could assume it's after. How immediately after, I don't know. I don't think it says. That's a different talk. This is not a future event. This is a past event. And this judgment, this isn't for the Christian. These are for the Jews. The Jews are the ones that were being judged. You're being judged right now. If you hear something that you know is true and then you ignore it, you'll be judged for it right here, right now. Not like the Jews that died and then came alive and then were judged. So do your math, do your homework, math, do your research. It's all right there.